welcome to this edition of ET Now Hangouts with me, Ankita Saxena. Well, they say, take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. And taking health and nutrition to a whole new level of truth is the clean food label brand, The Whole Truth. That's changing the landscape for packaged foods in India. And today, I'm in conversation with the founder, Shashank Mehta, about building a clean food brand, the challenges and the tailwinds. Hi, Shashank. Welcome to ET Now Hangout. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, and apologies for taking so long to be here.
I know, I really had to push hard for this. But finally, you're here. I'll congratulate you on the fact that you've been a food crusader for a while, for a very long time. In fact, you started out with your own personal blog, FitShit, which is also the name of your company, and then starting a consumer brand. Now, in any case, starting a consumer brand is not easy, let alone a consumer brand that lacked awareness back in the day. Now, back in the day, we didn't have food farmers of the world and, spreading awareness. It's now better with COVID and with the food farmer in the picture, but you hadn't foreseen this, right? When you started out, what was your thesis, or what was the reason, the hypothesis behind starting out this clean consumer brand?
So, actually, first of all, back in the day is like 5.5 years ago. So it's not that long back, but you're right. Our world is now changing at very rapid clip. So it seems like very far away. And honestly, I didn't start because there was a market gap for protein bars or, muesli or protein powders. I started as a result of a personal weight loss journey. I was writing a fitness blog, and I realized that a large part of the reason why I keep falling back into the obesity trap is because brands lie to me. And because I was a marketeer, that was my day job, I felt that it was time to create a brand that was 100% honest. So, yes, awareness was lower back then, and in hindsight, the timing seems great because the entire clean label movement, etc., was just picking up. And I'd like to believe we've played a role in it. We were not just the recipients of it, we were also, participants in it. But I wasn't trying to time the market, I wasn't trying to fill a market gap. It was just something that arose out of a personal struggle, and as it so happened that the timing turned out to be great.
Right. You spoke about your personal struggle. You had your own weighty issues, if you will. How did that help you understand the science of food? Because there's a lot of research that goes into this, and your personal journey has been instrumental in getting there.
Yeah. Actually, I've gained and lost 30 to 40 kgs thrice in life, right? So the first 2 times I did not get into the science of it. I just used to lose weight by willpower. Like, I'd just stop eating, start running, and in 10 months lose 40 kgs, and everyone would be very happy and I would be very happy. But the third time that it happened, the third time when I gained back 30 kgs, I was like, shit, this is not working. And that's when I got into the science. And actually, one of the biggest realizations I had was, unfortunately, most of food science is funded by food companies. So actually, the science lags reality by about 10-20 years. If you go back to the 1980s or the 1990s, if you see American newspapers, they were advertising the benefits of sugar. They were like, sugar is the best thing in the world. Fat makes you fat was the dominant story at that time, right? And advertisements about telling mothers that if you're a good mother, you will give this sugary candy to your kid because they need energy, was the advertising back in the day, right? And then it took us 20 years to realize that shit, all the research that said that fats are bad and sugar is good was funded by the sugar industry, right? So I learned how to read research papers by going into who's funding them, and then figuring out which ones to believe and which ones to not, right? And because I was doing it as a consumer, not as a scientist, not as someone who was coming from the field, I could also relate it back to, so what should I change tomorrow? As a consumer, as someone who's battling with obesity, what will I do differently tomorrow after reading this research paper, which is not something no one tells you, right? In research papers, you can find anything to support any argument, from 1 glass of wine a day is great for your heart to alcohol leads to death. You can lead to anything, right? So yeah, that's how the personal journey and the science came together.
Right. So would you say, since we are a show for startup founders to watch and learn, would you say that, like Warren Buffett says, you only invest in the business that you understand? For a startup founders, there has to be some sort of a personal journey with the product or the market problem itself to start a great product.
I agree. I think founder market fit is very, very important. We keep looking for product market fit. But are you the person who is the right person to solve this particular problem in the world? And in that, I would also like to make the difference between, missionary versus mercenary founders. That, the market gap founder is the mercenary founder. You figured out that, no one is making this one, piece of nuts and bolts in an aircraft, and I'm going to make this efficiently, and I'm going to put a factory and do it. That's a market gap. It's not passion. It's not that you were always thinking about this nut and bolt of an aircraft, right?
Yeah.
And then there are missionary founders who are like, there is something wrong in the world, and I want to build something that leaves the world a better place than I found it, and I want to change this about the world. If you're the second kind, then you must have found a market fit. You must have, like, starting up is so tough. The journey is so difficult that the only thing that will get you through is a deep investment in solving that problem.
Yeah, true. You also spoke about your marketing journey. You were with HUL. You were with the personal care category.
Yes.
You were in the marketing, and of course, you had a stint with Rebel Foods as well. But did that help you understand the marketing bit of it? How products are marketed, like you mentioned, and how did that help you shape the proposition for your own brand and the marketing and brand positioning for the whole truth?
Oh, both those experiences were instrumental. I think everything I know about brand building, I know from Unilever, and everything I know about food, I know from Rebel.
So is it safe to say with the Unilever, what not to do was something that you learned?
Actually, no. The more I build, the more I realize that if we are able to build an organization, like Unilever is a 150-year-old organization, right? So I can't imagine how many things they got right to build something that lasted 150 years, right? I am judging them sitting today.
Yeah.
Right? If you go back in history, when Unilever started, it started at the end of World War I, I think, where the Lever brothers started selling margarine because people needed cheap calories and they couldn't afford butter.
Yeah.
So it was born out of a deep purpose, right? And Unilever taught me that brands that last 100 years are built on fundamental human insights, right? And humans don't change over 100 years. Technology changes, but what we need, basics of, love, respect, dignity, truth, these things don't change over years. And if you can build a brand that stands for that, right? Like Dove, iconic brand, stands for real is beautiful, that you don't have to, make things up for them to be, you're beautiful the way you are. That's a timeless insight. That's not going to go away. If AI comes, AGI comes, anything comes, that's not going to go away, right? So that's what I learned from Unilever. And Rebel just taught me how tough food is. Like, food is damn tough. Like, all our preferences are different. We don't want to pay too much for it either. But we are very personally affected and involved in it. One vada pav you don't like, you will tell 15 people, and never go back to that place. It's a 5 rupee thing. So it's like that. The fact that food is really damn tough is what I learned at Rebel.
Yeah, absolutely. But speaking of that, running a company is not easy. Building a consumer brand is even tougher. While you've been growing very well, 120 plus percent over year-on-year growth is what you're witnessing over the last 5 years. But talk to us about profitability, because turning a profit is difficult because you are coming out with products that are clean, the ingredients are premium. Also, you do not use preservatives in your products, which means a shorter shelf life. How do you manage that? Now, while that is good for the health, for your health, but it's not good for the health of the business or your gross margins either. How do you maintain that?
It's a great question. It's a very insightful question. And you're right. First of all, it's damn tough, right? Because our cost of goods is far higher. Our shelf lives are lower, which means our expiry rates and return rates are a lot higher. Which means that we operate at a lower gross margin than most of competition in industry, right? Part of the answer is build such a great brand that you can charge a premium for it. But that has a problem of reducing your TAM, that then the number of people who can afford you goes down.
Yes.
The main answer, one hopes. We are not yet profitable, so I can't say I know the answer fully. But the main answer perhaps lies in marketing cost, that if you can build both a brand and a product that is so good and so consistent and so trustworthy that you actually don't need to spend as much as everyone else on marketing, then whatever extra cost you're putting into the product, more than that you take out of marketing cost and hence build a P&L. That hopefully is the answer, because if you're selling an average product, you need to spend a lot more on marketing.
So you're banking a lot on repeat customers.
Yes,
is what you're
absolutely.
saying.
Word of mouth and repeat customers. I'm banking on getting new customers through word of mouth, and I'm banking on my customers who once try this product never leaving it.
So do you have customer feedback loops? How do you create that? How do you get that customer feedback?
Oh, we have many. So if I take you back into our history, for the first 1.5 years out of our 5.5 years of existence, we were purely a website-only brand. And that was a choice because we wanted a direct feedback loop. Even today, 25% of business comes from the website. So we have a direct line to our consumer, and they're very vocal. They tell us directly, give us very clear, brutal feedback of what's working, what's not working. I have a WhatsApp group with, like, I am personally on WhatsApp groups with 1,500 consumers. We have a community where, again, we get like very quick feedback from consumers. We write to our consumers very frequently. So we are very, very connected. Like, I know, 50, 60, 70 consumers by name who are on WhatsApp messages with me. So our feedback loops are very, very fast.
Right.
And like, we have one of our values is consumer is family. If consumer is not king, consumer is not God, we treat them as family, which is we bring them in every other weekend. You'll see some consumers are in our office. They're having lunch with us. They're trying new products. They're giving us feedback then and there. Yeah, so this is how we try and be super close to the consumer and super nimble also.
Right. But India is a price sensitive market where consumers really look at the price tags. Now, of course, things are changing. People want healthier products. They want better ingredients. But are they really willing to pay that kind of a price for that?
I think the top 1 or 2% are. You and I are. And that's, we are very clear that that's our TG. We are not building a brand for all of India. We're building a brand for the top 2-3% of the country. And precisely because they are the ones whose nutrition needs have completely changed, right? Like, we are no longer like 30-40 years ago where most of us were still doing hard labor jobs. Today, you and I don't do that, right? Like, we're sitting at desks all day. Our nutrition needs, so 30-40 years ago, everyone's problem was undernourishment, that we were not getting enough calories, enough protein, enough, good fats, etc., because we're just not getting enough food. Now, our problem is overnourishment, that there is calories everywhere and I have to protect myself. I have to make sure that I get the right calories, I get the right macros. So we are solving for you and me. And that consumer, of course, is definitely value sensitive. But it's not as if they don't have enough money to pay once they see the value in what you're offering.
Since you're present at very niche marketplaces, it's difficult as a consumer for me to go and buy a whole truth chocolate because I want to satiate that sweet pang that I'm getting.
So first of all, because we are a multi-category brand, we actually operate across impulse to functional categories, right? So our largest category is now protein powders, which is very functional. Like, you plan it, you buy it, it's a 1 kg pack. And then we also make chocolates, which itself, by the way, is unheard of, right? Like, you would not buy protein powders from your favorite chocolate brand or the other way around. But that's I think what we've been able to achieve, that we built a brand on truth and trust, and people buy anything from us, which makes distribution more complex for us because we have to be at impulse purchase points also, and we have to be at
the planned
purchase point and everything in the middle also. Thankfully, at least from a distribution lens, quick commerce has been a big boon for us. And for all food brands, that they've helped us bridge this gap of, how do you go from just selling on your website and Amazon to now you have to go and sell in 1 lakh stores, which is really difficult. Scaling offline is really difficult. And as you rightly said, we are doing it slowly because in offline we've learned that you want to follow demand, not be ahead of it. So you want retailers to be asking for your product and then you put it, because our shelf lives are really low. On that shelf, you have no way of tracking what's getting expired, etc. So it can become a really tough business to manage if you're putting stock which is far more than the demand that you're getting. So we are actually not being slow or fast, we're just following demand. We are saying if if a shopkeeper wants, our salesperson will keep visiting, but we will wait for you to ask whether you're getting demand from your consumers, and then we'll put it there.
Okay, so two things that I two things actually from the point that you just mentioned. A, that you only produce to the demand.
Yeah.
How do you get a sense of the demand? Is there have you created some sort of a loop where you you get information from the seller, what is the demand, and is that also an incurred cost?
It's a big cost, and again, because we have far lower shelf lives than our competition, we have to be far more precise with our demand planning than anyone else, right? Which means that we have a very strong, scientifically backed demand planning team in-house. And now that we are, we are now 5-6 years old, so we have decent depth of data also. We run a lot of proprietary models on our past data to predict future demand, because honestly, even sellers don't know very well, because they're selling thousands of things. So they actually don't have a great idea of how much my brand will sell on their platform.
True.
That job sits with me, and that means we are just setting up this demand planning, very, very scientific model, which keeps improving over time as we realize what all variables affect demand. Monsoon में क्या होता है, गणपति आता है तो क्या होता है, बारिशों में, गर्मियों में क्या होता है, because each category is very different. Like chocolate is entering its peak season right now, but when chocolate peaks, functional categories dip.
True.
Because people are now in an indulgent mood, right? So our demand planning is really complex, and hence we have to build that muscle.
Absolutely. And the second part of the question is the preservatives part. You're not using preservatives, and therefore you have a lesser shelf life. How do you manage that? What do you use for your products to be perhaps have a longer shelf life, or it's easily perishable? And how do you maintain that then?
Actually, there are only two things. If you're not going to use any chemical or preservative, you can only do two things. One is you start with ingredients which inherently have high shelf life. So cashews, almonds, dates, these dry fruits.
Okay.
They have high shelf life in general, right? So that's a constraint, that you can only work with certain ingredients. You can't work with all ingredients, but you have to choose that. Otherwise, your shelf life will not be high. And the second one is just have exceptionally high manufacturing standards, because if your manufacturing facility is the microbial load is really low, humidity is very well controlled, temperature is very well controlled, and it's done day in and day out at very high levels, you ensure that the starting point of the product is at such a high level that it will last longer. These are the only two things that you can do, and we do that. Like, we invest really, really disproportionately in both these things.
Absolutely. Also, Shashank, talk to us about the competition. Now, post-COVID, there have been, this industry is burgeoning now. I mean, I'm sure the FMCGs left a big gap in the clean eating space, but nowadays, especially as far as the T2C brands are concerned, online you see so many brands that have come up, organic, clean eating brands. How do you break through the clutter, or what sets you apart? What are your moats?
Actually, our moat is just trust, right? And as I said, we didn't start because we saw some market gap. We started out of a clear mission that we felt that trust in food is broken, and there needs to be a brand which is so honest that it will rebuild people's trust in food, right? So it's actually great if more brands get inspired by that and actually become clean label and say the same thing, because
it'll grow the category also.
Yeah, the market is massive, right? Like, we are not even 1% of the big food players, right? So it's great, and we alone cannot solve everything, right? No matter how big we become, we cannot solve all food categories and trust everywhere. So the hope actually is that we prove that you can build a business by being 100% honest, and that inspires 20 other people to do the same thing. And we compete fairly in the market, because our fight is not with each other, our fight is with big food. And that TAM is like, that market size is just infinitely large. So I don't worry too much about, competition. The problem is, unfortunately, even today, in the garb of clean label and healthy, new age brands are also lying. So consumers' trust is getting broken once again, because they thought that I'm now moving from like some big brand to some new brand. And udhar bhi, if you find out that 5 out of 10 are doing the same trick, then your trust gets broken.
But do you think the proof of that is in the pricing? But because someone who's using premium pricing would obviously be using better ingredients, not using preservatives than a brand that claims to be clean and organic, but has a lesser price point? That's an obvious giveaway that perhaps it's lying.
It's something to double click on, right? Because part of efficiencies do come from scale. So,
True.
at large scale, you can procure better than me. So it's not as if you have to price the same as me.
Okay.
But if it's half, but you're saying you have everything the same that I have, then chances are that's not.
Okay.
There's something to double click on there. So you're right. Like that is something to think about.
It's a differentiator.
It is. There are many other ways, but the biggest one is just learn to read labels, right? Like our regulator is actually very good. No matter what we say about our food regulator, our rules are actually very stringent. They're very high level rules. We are not able to enforce it, but just read the label. If you learn how to read ingredient lists, if you learn how to read nutrition tables, no one can fool you. 90% of the stuff is written there.
Right. So, Shashank, what are your challenges now as an entrepreneur? What are the challenges and what are the tailwinds in your industry?
See, the tailwinds are demand and the headwinds are supply. So demand is actually booming, as you rightly said. Consumers are really waking up to what are they putting inside their body. They're learning how to read labels. They're really becoming a lot more aware very fast. And like we'd hoped, they're asking their brands this question, that if there is this one brand or two brands who are putting all their ingredients on the front of pack and declaring everything, why can't you do it, right? So that's a huge tailwind.
Yeah.
Supply and maintaining quality as you scale, ensuring that you always live up to that promise. And as I said, when 10 new brands come into clean label, half of them not actually being the old wine in new bottle, that is the challenge. That, if consumers look at us, new players, as the hope, and then their hope gets broken again using the same thing, or you are just going and getting it manufactured at, again, some third-party manufacturer who was always making everything for everyone else also, and there was really no differentiation in your product. I think supply is ability to keep quality and honesty up even as you scale. That is the big challenge. It's really tough. It's not easy to scale food manufacturing. Is not
absolutely
not easy.
But also, Shashank, talk to us about your IPO plans. Is IPO on the anvil for the next say 4 to 5 years? Are you looking at that?
For sure. So I am very clear that we are building this for life, and hence hence IPO has to be one of the milestones in the middle if we want to build a company which is both large and enduring. IPO is definitely on the cards, and as you rightly said, I think it's in the next 4 to 5 years that will be on the anvil. Not that we are already like working backwards from it, but we're definitely solidly on that path.
Right. But Shashank, before we let you go, we want your closing comments for all the young startup founders on what would be your advice, because I mean, if you are in a very challenging business, a consumer company, a food consumer company, what would be your advice to young startup founders who is perhaps starting out in any category?
I think starting up is tough in general. Like my friends who are in textile feel that is the toughest, who are in personal care feel that is the toughest. So starting up in general is very, very tough. And hence I just push founders to know their why. Why are you doing this? Should be very, very clear to you, because there will come days and weeks and months where you will really question, why the hell am I putting myself through all of this? And you only if you have a very deep.
How many times have you had that thought?
I think it comes and goes. It's many phases, and it comes in different ways, right? It also comes, by the way, at when you've done decently well. There are options to stop, to walk away from it, to exit, right? Why do you continue? Why do you?
You can just cash out.
You can do that, right? And I don't judge people who do, because it is a very tough journey. So your why keeps getting tested again and again, and the deeper the why is, the longer you will remain in the fight, and the longer you're in the fight, the higher your chances of winning are. So yeah, that's my.
So what's your vision for the next, say, 4 to 5 years? You have an IPO planned, but what is your vision for the company? You're saying you're here for the long haul. It's a marriage
it's very committed. Which is why I said that IPO is just a milestone. That's not the journey. The journey is very clear. We believe See, our mission is we are trying to rebuild the world's trust in its food.
Okay.
We believe that trust has been broken by big food because they've been telling us half-truths for ages. You know, they say no added sugar, but it's not no added sugar. They say high protein, but it's not high protein, all that stuff, right? Whichever food category we believe this trust is broken in, we want to enter that food category with the whole truth promise and 100% honesty, right? That list itself is infinite, right? And we've just started scratching the surface. We're in 4 or 5 categories right now. I see 50, there are 50 categories where, you know, we can enter. And who said that we have to do this only in India? This is a worldwide problem. This is not just an India problem.
Do you plan to expand globally?
Absolutely, but not anytime soon, because India has so much to do right now that we're focused here. But let's say 4, 5, 7 years down the line, you've consumed the product, you've seen the packaging, like, is there any reason why this should be a India-only brand? I think the times are gone where we have to be subservient to just American brands and be like, wahi yahan pe aa sakte hain. So the playfield is infinite, both in terms of width of what all categories we can enter and geographies that we can go to. So my vision, like, I know for the next 20 years what all needs to be done, and somewhere along the way an IPO will happen, somewhere along the way some X thousand crores of top line will happen. All of that are just, you know, milestone markers.
All right, Shashank, thank you so much for having such an insightful conversation. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Thank you so much for having me and for asking great questions. Thank you.